Hi guys, welcome to a quick tutorial on how to use Fusion360. We're going to start making our beach chair, which is the item in front of us. This is the backrest or the leg, whichever you decide it to be. But essentially I'm going to show you guys how to use this program in a few simple steps. So what you'll be able to see is on the storyboard how it's been made by simply creating a sketch, objects, components, bodies, moving it, making a pattern and duplicating that. So I'm just going to make a new one. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save my document, entitle it your beach chair, make sure it's saved to your first project, which is cloud-based. Over on the data panel you can see where all your items and projects are and access them when you need them. In Fusion, one thing that's really important to take into consideration is you always build using components. So this little button here is a new component and it's an empty component. So currently the screen's blank, there's nothing there. But we can name this, we can call it our backrest for our chair, or we can call it our leg, either. And essentially, once we've created a component, we create a sketch. And we've got three different axes, X, Y, Z. So essentially top, left, front. And I'm going to draw on my top. But before I do that, I'm actually going to go to my modifier and change my parameters. This way my drawing is going to be a lot easier. So I'm going to click on user parameters, create new. I'm going to call this the length. So length, leg. And in here I'm going to type 700. Now every time I want to go put length leg, I'm going to type in L and it's going to give me that. I'm going to type in my width, which is going to be 42 millimeters. I'm going to type in my thickness, which is going to be 19 millimeters. Now these are my commands. Every time I go to draw something, which I'm going to draw a rectangle, I'm going to click, I'm going to type in my thickness, you'll see why in a second, by hitting tab, my length. Now if I hit E, enter, and then press enter again, hit E, and then type in, it's got extrude ready to go, type in 40, click the body I want to work with, and type in into here, 42. I will have my first component, which is one area of my body. Now, next thing I'm going to do, we're actually just going to copy and paste this to make two of them. So I'm just going to highlight it and I'm going to copy and just going to click off the screen. Now next thing I'm going to do is make a new component. Now you notice the parent is selected, which is actually selected this item. We don't want that. We want the parent to be this top one. I haven't saved it, but once yours is saved, you'll be able to do it. So click off of that current parent, reselect the major parent at the top. Notice these little items expand. Once it's done, click OK, and then I'm going to paste my area. Now, one thing I forgot to do was actually modify and change my parameters to say I want my backrest, my slat, to be 400 millimeters long. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move this piece that I'm about to paste. Let's just double check I've done it right. So I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to move my component rather than a body, and I'm going to select the component. This is Fusion, it's very intuitive, it works in the list. So first things first, step, 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 all the way down. Move type, free type, you can choose translate, up to you. But essentially you're going to move it across. Now what I want to type in is I'm going to type in my slat, because I know I want it to move 400 millimeters across, which is the width of our backrest. But before I do that, I'm actually going to make sure it's in from the end 19 millimeters. So I'm going to go slat minus thickness. Now when I inspect that, I should get, if I activate all the components by clicking on the top here, and I measure from my outside point to my outside point, I should get exactly 400. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is make another component. Make sure the parent is the top selected parent. Press OK. I'm going to draw a sketch, draw it on my top plane. Capture position if you need to. It's not too important at the moment. Create my rectangle. I know it's going to be my slat, which is my width, sorry, by the slat, which is S. Press enter. Enter twice. Press E for extrude. Type in thickness, and you have your piece ready to go. Now notice these are gone grey. That's because they are not activated, because currently we're working on this component only. So to activate them all, you click up here and activate all components. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to move this piece just so I can see it. So I'm going to move a component and ask you to select the component. So I'm going to select the component I'd like. I'm going to choose point to point, and I want to move, I'm going to select my origin point rather, this point on the corner, far corner, sorry, and to the top. And what I've got is my slap on my chair leg ready to go. Next thing I'm going to do is going to create a rectangular pattern. Actually, let's undo that. Create a pattern, capture position, my apologies. Now what I want to do, I'm going to do this pattern with components. I'm going to select the component I'd like. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to move this little box out of the way. And I'm going to select the direction, which is the rail of the chair. And I'm just going to drag it out just so I can see. Now in here I can select the spacing or the extent between the overall amount. But what I'm going to type in is, I know these are 42 millimeters wide. So I'm going to type in the width, so minus, because it's a distance, the width. Okay, so width, and in there I'm going to place in brackets, just so it's a little bit mathematical, but it just shows you the order of things. Minus the width plus the thickness, and I should get exactly 19 millimeters between each piece. So if I look at it from the right hand side, if I zoom in, inspect my area to distance, I should get 19 millimeters, which is exactly what we like. So essentially we've learned how to create patterns and create components. If you'd like to follow along, we're going to be going through the rest of this procedure together as a class.